Hang in there. That's Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
All right.
We're so bad at this.
The dismount, there's got to be a better way. The dismount, all that intro is always...
Hearing the mouse click kills me every time.
It's really good stuff. I'm glad we can make light of it. It's never quite polished, but you know what? This is the content never sleeps. We're here. We're live. We're doing a show. I'll just we're peeling back the curtain a little bit here. It's a full-on fire drill. We've got our guy, Brian Stansfield here, currently setting up my camera and lighting arrangement to look like yours, which has taken a huge jump in quality.
Yeah.
So we got that going on. We got a pest control guy coming. So I just moved into the house this last week. The dogs are barking. Everything's happening all at the same time, but yeah, we have golf to talk about, Smylie. So that's what we're gonna do. And if you hear if you see a little lighting change, you hear a little bit of extraneous noise in the background, that's just the price of doing business. We're here to talk golf. So
let's play ball.
Let's play. I mean, so we have so much golf to talk about. We have a wild finish, the Travelers. Both I would say off the course and on the course, but it all happened on the course. Just some of it pertained to the actual play in the tournament, and some of it pertained to protesters on the 72nd hole, which we'll get into. We've got KPMG Women's PGA Championship at Smylie, which looked like my utter nightmare off the tee, just like little 20-yard windows to hit tee shots through. Just true insanity.
Your nightmare? Our nightmare.
Our nightmare. We are the Hyatt Kings. And then we've got a little live golf. I mean, the Nashville scene, kind of a hero's... I mean, we'll give credit where credit's due. It was a hero's welcome for Bryson and a good-looking scene there. And we got some stats from our guy who just kind of hooked it up the last time around. We got more here from Sean Lowry. And then if you stay around long enough, maybe a little bit of recap of the shootout at Old Chatham's Hogan, which, was...
People are dying to want to know about that.
People are dying to hear about that. Well, let's start with the Travelers. Let's start with Scotty. I think before we kind of break down the tournament, I mean, just some context on Scotty, right? And there's a couple of tweets that I think are worth reading to just set the table for this conversation. So the first one from No Laying Up, just laying out, this is prior to Scotty actually getting it done, but the 2024 signature event winners, the Century, Chris Kirk, at AT&T Pro-Am at Pebble Beach, Wyndham Clark, at the Genesis at Riviera, Hideki Matsuyama. Then Scotty switches to that spider mallet, and he wins at Bay Hill, and he wins the Players, and he wins the RBC Heritage. And then he takes a week off because his child has arrived and Rory gets a chance to win at Quail Hollow for the Wells Fargo. And then he wins at Memorial, and now he wins at the Travelers. Justin Ray Golf, of course, who's amazing on Twitter and everywhere else, but another great stat, 6 wins in a PGA Tour season before July 1st since 1960. It's been done 3 times. Arnold Palmer in 1962, he got it done by May 14th. Arnold Palmer in 1960, he got it done by June 18th. And now Scotty Scheffler in 2024 gets it done by June 23rd. Last one is from our resident OWGR guru, Nosferatu at VC606 on Twitter. If you split the years in 2 halves, so January to June and then July to December, only 10 times a player's earned more than 400 OWGR points in 1 half year. And 6 is Vijay Singh, 2 through 5, and 7 through 10 are Tiger, and top of the list, Scotty Scheffler. So, I mean, I know we keep talking about, some of the comparisons between Tiger and Scotty, and it feels like, maybe not forced, but just Tiger's greatness was so off the charts, it's hard to compare. But we are starting to really enter that territory. And I'd love to first kind of hear your reflections on, yet again, what Scotty's done. And then maybe we can kind of dig into some comparisons between this year for Scotty and some of Tiger's best years.
I think if Scotty would have won maybe in Houston, maybe in American Express, maybe at the Century, and won the Masters, and then maybe won the Travelers, and maybe another open event, we'd be talking about this totally differently, right? Because you could question the fields, but the fact of the matter is, look what the events he's won. He's beat the best that the PGA Tour has to offer. Is it the best in the world? No, because we have 2 split tours, but He has beat every single possible PGA Tour player, and every single time he's played in a signature event past LA. So it's fun to look back. We've been doing this for a little over a year and a couple months now. And I feel like right from the get-go of when we got started, I got you on Scotty. I got you on this guy. I'm like, dude, you need to be buying stock in this guy because he's unbelievable. And I don't know if I convinced you early on enough because you were somebody who likes to change putters. Maybe you're somebody that loses belief quickly when they change putters there and back. So I kept on trying to give you positivity at the beginning of this year, saying, patience, young Charlie. He's going to figure this out. Get him to Bermuda Greens. Let his work with Phil Kenyon to continue to pay off. And it's been fun to watch because this year, in comparison to last year, let's just talk about his putting routine because that was the big thing that we talked about of the things that he needed to change was his putting. Last year, Ted Scott always reading putts. And every time he missed a putt, he would just be looking at Ted and just this, like, I think it was a frustration that it's like, I feel like I'm making good putts, but I'm not making anything. And then we started to see some really bad putts where you're like, okay, this technique is off. And then he changes putters at the Ryder Cup. And then fast forward now working with Phil Kenyon, Ted Scott's not reading putts, realizes he's a good green reader, just practices green reading. And what do you know? One of the hardest workers and the most talented players in the world now is making a lot of putts. And if he putts well, like we've documented, he wins.
Well, it's funny because I think the turn in our minds was you're watching the same movie every week last year. And the movie always ended the same way where this guy hits the ball better than anybody in the field and he gets on the greens and he loses a ton of strokes and he either narrowly misses, always finished top 10, was a top 10 machine, but narrowly misses out on winning the tournament. And now we're watching the same movie again. It's just that he's fixed one thing and the movie always ends with Scotty winning. And it's with some exceptions, of course. I mean, the US Open was, I mean, that one is, will forever. I'd love to do like a full unpack on that one at some point in time, like digging into the stats there and everything, because I think that one it intrigues me for a number of reasons. It was putting on a Bermuda surface, which kind of to your point, at the beginning of the year when I was, slamming the panic button as a putter tinkerer and someone who, needs to kind of see results quickly, you're saying just get him to Bermuda and he's going to be fine. And he was. So that one is, was an interesting one to me. I think he's spoken. He even said this week, just talking about how he didn't like maybe the unpredictability of Pinehurst and some of those native areas and some of the whether you do get penalized or don't get penalized off the tee. That's a subject for another day. But I think here talking about yet another signature event win for Scotty Scheffler, and looking at, let's do the Tiger comparisons, man. I mean, I think we're at this point in time, and you and I were texting on the side leading into this about comparing this year for Scotty Scheffler to 2000 for Tiger Woods. And the reason we're doing that is because on the broadcast yesterday, there's a graphic that was thrown up, most wins in a season. So 9 wins in a season, and this is in the last 40 years on the PGA Tour, has been done twice. Vijay Singh in 2004, Tiger in 2000. 8 wins in a season has been done twice, both by Tiger Woods, 1999 and 2006. 7 wins in a season has been done once, Tiger Woods in 2007. And 6 wins in a season is now 3 guys, Tiger Woods in 2005 and 2009, Nick Price in 1994, and Scotty Scheffler in 2024 with a lot of events remaining. So let's look at that. Let's look at that Tiger 2000 season and compare it to Scotty in 2024. So Tiger played 20 times in 2000 and won 9 of those events, which is absurd. I mean, again, it's like look at these stats. Is one of our commenters in here says Scotty's on X Games mode, and I think if it's flagrant one says Scotty's on X Games mode, which I love because it's almost like he has like a Game Shark and he's put some sort of cheat code in, and that was very much what Tiger did in 2000 as well. But so Scotty's played 15 times this season and won 6 times.
anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
11 and 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Rory Mack, it's going to be remembered. It will be a lasting image from the 2024 United States Open, just like Bryson DeChambeau's 55-yard bunker shot.
We love big-time winners. Like, you win a championship, we want to hear from you. You get the stage. Sometimes it's emotional. It's a great watch. We know we also love the losers who said, you know what, I just can't believe I folded down the stretch. Let me face the music here. You sort of get a new light there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
So Tiger's results in 2000, he wins at what is now the Century in Hawaii. He wins the AT&T Pro-Am. He won at Bay Hill, finished fifth at the Masters, won the Memorial, won the U.S. Open, won the Open Championship, won the PGA Championship, won the World Golf Championships NEC Invitational, won the Bell Canadian Open, and won the World Golf Championships EMC World Cup. Scotty's wins this year are the Arnold Palmer Invitational, of course, at Bay Hill, the Players Championship, the Masters, RBC Heritage, the Memorial, and the Travelers Championship.
Unbelievable. And those events are just, it's hard to compare to year 2000 to 2024 because so much has changed with the schedule and the fields, and it's difficult to compare the talent in 2000 to the talent in 2024. So, but I think you can compare wins, right? Like it's hard to argue guys winning at the end of the week. But man, I think the one comparison that I'd like to make that reminds me of Tiger is Scotty's ability to make shots on a Sunday look like shots on a Thursday. And Tiger was so good at doing that too. In the high pressure leverage moments, he didn't lose a step. You know, he was still able to hit it pin high. He's still knocking down flag sticks. He doesn't mishit it. So when I think about the Travelers Championship, or I think about any event I've watched this year from Scotty, when have we seen him hit a shot where like, that's weird? Tiger the same way. And I think that's, to me, is the best comparison you can possibly make, and the best compliment you can ever give is that on a Sunday afternoon when it's all on the line, that your game looks exactly the same as it looked on a Thursday.
Yeah, that reminds me of something you said a while back following him around. This might have been at Bay Hill or might have been at the Players. I'm not sure which, but just that he just is always missing on the right side of the flag stick, and it's always 20 feet or less. And it's just so casual. And I think that's, you know, the thing that we remember about Tiger. I mean, we remember all of his shots with a ton of flair and things like that, but actually when you kind of get down to it, he was a fairly conservative player a lot of times, and he could afford to do that because he just had more length than guys, and he could just wait it out. And all these other guys who had to kind of play an aggressive game to try to keep up with him eventually make mistakes and fall off, and then he's there at the end, and he can go out and win the golf tournament. And then when he needed to pull off a ridiculous shot, like we saw at the Canadian Open and a number of other places, he had the toolkit to do that. And Scotty has that same toolkit as well, but it does look so. It looks so casual yesterday. I think that was an interesting thing to me, was just watching Tom Kim, who we'll get into, play great, but you could kind of see the pressure getting to him down the stretch with some of his putts, putt on 16 and putt on 17. His routine really kind of slowed up in a lot of ways. And Scotty's out there laughing with Ted Scott. And you can be in that mode when you've won a zillion times, when this is your 6th win of the year. But that thing strikes me the same way as you. It just looks very comfortable for him all the time.
Yeah, there's an art to winning. We've talked about learning how to win, and that it's a learned skill, and the more times you do it, the easier it gets. And when I saw Tom Kim yesterday, there was definitely, he didn't look the same as he probably would look on a Thursday. He was standing over the ball much longer. I don't know if he realized he was, and maybe he has been standing over the ball this long, but he definitely does need to quicken it up a bit. My goodness. That was one thing that I was like, man, I've missed this one. But man, I think with Tiger Woods and Scotty Scheffler, when you compare the two, Tiger Woods would intimidate you with his physical self, just his presence, his ability to hit golf shots and wear you out and know he's not going to make a mistake. And how do we compare that to what we saw at the Travelers Championship with what turned out to be a duel between Tom Kim and Scotty Scheffler down the stretch? Just like you were saying, Scotty's laughing it up, and so is Tom Kim. They're obvious friends, but from my perspective, I didn't like that. I would have rather have seen Tom just act like he didn't know Scotty Scheffler, and just, I know he celebrated awesome on the 18th hole, and that's the type of dog that Tom Kim can be. We've seen that at the President's Cup. And I know these guys are friends, but part of me as somebody who's watching on TV, I want these guys to, like, they could be best friends in the world, but I want them to act like they hate each other in the moment, right? Like, that's what makes competitive good TV.
It is a really interesting one, because I thought about this watching them come down the stretch, and you can't change, the way Tom Kim is, just this love. I mean, it's the reason why we love him so much, right? He's just sort of like, he's this teddy bear that is just delighted to be on tour at the age he is, playing as well as he is, making all these friends. And you also can't change the nature of their relationship, where I don't know if Tom would classify Scotty as a mentor or how Scotty thinks about it, but really in a lot of ways, Scotty's taken Tom under his wing, as has Jordan, right? Some of those guys in that Dallas area, that they have kind of brought him along and taught him some things, and he's picked up, a lot of shots and a lot of wherewithal about how to, succeed on the PGA Tour from those guys. So it's kind of hard to ice out a guy like that, maybe. But I will say, I mean, we hear it all the time with Scotty Scheffler, where I believe it was maybe Sam Burns telling this story of, like, this is a guy that is the friendliest, nicest guy in the world. Mm-hmm. And then you're playing a what you think is a friendly game of ping pong, and the guy wants to cut your throat. I mean, he's out for blood. And, I think that is, to a certain degree, yeah, I'd like to see more of that from Tom, almost like that President's Cup version of him that is just like, I'm not afraid of this moment. I'm going to go out and seize it and take it. And I wonder for Tom, if it's almost like he's now been out there long enough to where he's thinking about it a little bit too much. It's like he's taking in all this information,
I disagree a little bit there.
Really? Because I mean, I guess that's where my head went with his time of, routine and things like that, where, before he had this sort of carefree nature, and now it's like, they said on the broadcast, Trevor Immelman noted it. It's like, we got to kind of speed this thing up, not just not from a pace of play perspective, as much from a competitive standpoint. Like, that's probably, not beneficial to him playing good golf when he's taking that long.
He's the type of player that only likes to go when he feels like, I know exactly what I'm doing. There's no doubt. And that's why him and Paul Tesori are working so well together now. It's why him and Joe Scavern worked so well together, winning a couple times together. And when I watched him with the first week that they caddied for, I believe it was one of the first weeks Joe caddied for Tom Kim, was in Vegas. And I thought the same thing. It's like, man, he's really indecisive, or only really likes to go when he knows exactly what the decision is.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Can he be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just
Sometimes
did.
the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
40-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
He went bogey, double, par, birdie, bogey. Thomas Dietrich's all over the place here today.
This golf course is so volatile where it can make you look like a fool in just a matter of minutes. And, you know, you look at a guy like Thomas Dietrich. You know, he's right there tied for the lead or whatever it was, and now he's like 4 or 5 over in the wink of an eye.
In-game live, all access, only on SportsGrid.
Despite me being a Yankee fan, I think Joe would deserve the label as Aaron Judge's biggest fan, not through any bias, but just through the amount of money that he's made anybody who's been betting on him.
I just had him for that home run, and I'm going to go back to it today. That home run coming in at plus 230. Max Fried here, while he has been strong, this is Aaron Judge.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
One quick stat on Tom Kim. Our guy Matt Gannon, who was out.
Oh yeah, love Matt.
I've seen him at 3 or 4 events this year. If you're a guy that likes to gamble on golf, he's very, very, like, he goes, does his homework. Really good in the stats department. He put out a good tweet with Tom Kim, just saying that he hit 48 of 56 fairways, 66 of 72 greens, 100% in scrambling, birdies second, bogeys least, lost. I just thought that was a really good summary of, man, sometimes you can play really good golf and not win on the PGA Tour. So shame on me for even mentioning that Tom Kim didn't have the dog down the stretch when he clearly was unbelievable this week. So just give me, I just want somebody to try to out intimidate Scotty Scheffler down the stretch. I think that's what I'm looking for, is just a guy to be like, just fist pumping right in Scotty's face. And just like, I want to see the competitive animal coming out of Scotty more than I do other people. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%.
I want Scotty to look like Tiger, where he's just like, all right, come on, let's go.
he needs a proper foil. I mean, I'm racking my brain this year. It's like, what's the closest we've really seen in his group? Steven Yeager? That's kind of it, right? I mean, I think some of those, you know, because he came from behind it.
He puts it to sleep, man. He's put a lot of these events to bed
just early. I wonder, what are your thoughts on just the way TPC River Highlands played this week? Because it was ball in hand. Was it all 4 days, or was it just 3 or 4 days? I know it was on Sunday. It was when Cam Young shot his 59. Mm-hmm. You know, with weather anticipated, there's some, you know, weather kind of intermittently off and on throughout the week. I know last year there was talk of, after the record scoring we saw with Keegan Bradley's win, how can they toughen this place up? And, you know, there wasn't a ton of additional teeth, it seemed like, for this course this year. You know, it's one of those things. It's like, I think we like to knee-jerk react to certain venues and saying, I mean, I saw some pretty asinine takes with relation to the quality of Cam Young's 59. I mean, 59's a 59. Like, let's just, let's not try to discredit that. But it's. I mean, obviously, I think it's a different conversation than Valhalla. Like, that's a major. You probably want that setup to be maybe a little bit tougher in retrospect. I don't mind this entirely, especially the week after just grinding back to back with the setup at the Memorial and the setup, Pinehurst. Any thoughts on what we saw this week and the parts of it that are maybe just out of everyone's control because just the weather's the weather?
It's a really good golf course. It's a really good golf course. I love the layout. It just isn't long enough. It just isn't long enough. We have, I think, 45% of the shots out there are from 145 yards and in. It's too many wedges. It is. And I think you give guys soft greens and no wind for 3 straight days. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how fast the greens are. They were, I believe, about 12.5, 13 on the stem, which is tour speed typically. Like that's, I wouldn't. Careful speed is the best way to describe it. And the rough was 4 to 5 inches of rough. So I think when people talk about the Travelers Championship and that it's a really easy track, well, go put a scratch player on this golf course. I don't think it's just as simple and as easy as we're making it out to be. These guys are really good. You give them a dartboard and you give them flags that they don't have to aim away from. It's just not that difficult. And maybe a scratch player could go play really well out there in a tournament. I don't know, but you can make an argument that a golf course like this could use a bit of rollback. I go back and forth on the whole rollback thing. I don't want to get into that right now, but it's definitely not difficult.
Right.
The golf course.
Well, I just think it's, and you've said this a number of times, you give tour pros ball in hand, soft conditions. Like it's just it's not going to be. I think what happens then is the scoring increases exponentially. It goes from where it could be a couple guys low to like everybody's low, and then everyone's slamming the panic button saying, "Oh, we need to change everything." If the weather conditions are a little different, I still think they score this course because to your point, the length just isn't there. But I don't think they score the way they do, where everyone's saying this is ridiculous and we have to change everything in a rollback. I mean, I think that there are. It's what we're seeing more and more is the venues that would benefit from it, and we're also seeing venues that have other ways to protect themselves, like much in the way that Pinehurst did last week. There are a lot of ways to kind of defend that course where, guys, there's still a lot of wedges into those greens, but, good luck holding some of them, and you get a certain pin location, a firmness, and it is a tough scene. So I thought that was interesting, just looking at the scoring and some of the takes we saw, not to discredit Cam Young or anyone this week, but that's the way it goes when the conditions are like that. So.
Nashville, help me welcome to the stage the captain of Crushers GC and the 2024 U.S. Open champion, Bryson DeChambeau.
Gosh, I'm trying to hold it in right now. The support's been overwhelming.
Tickets for Nashville this week are nearly sold out. We are calling this the Bryson effect.
Won the Saudi Open on the Asian Tour in April, and he won the International Series event in Macau in March, beating David Puig in a playoff. Here's a man with 9 career wins, 3 of them on the DP World Tour. 33 years of age from Sacramento, and he is making the most of his chance.
Remember John Catlin playing as a reserve for Charles Howell III, who's injured. If he were to go on to win this, he gets those points. That would move him right at the top 24 number. Move him at 20th currently.
Yeah, another beautiful shot. These guys making this look so easy.
So having a day. The Englishman 6 under par. He shares the lead with Abraham Answer for the time being, at least. Now this is Abraham Answer to stay at 7 under and in all likelihood have the open night lead, and that is wonderfully done. Abe Answer with a 64.
This is what LIV Golf's about, man. I had a vision of this 2-3 years ago, seeing what the potential could be, and this is just the start. I mean, with how much support we have out here, and it's just the start, that's a testament to what LIV Golf is and what the Crushers are doing, what our team's doing, and what we're trying to do for Nashville and places all across the globe. So super excited for the future of LIV.
Big putt on 18 after everything that went on there. And this is probably the part of the show where we should discuss what happened, because you were there on site.
Yeah.
What does his whole thing go down? And
I was actually watching it from the airport, but I can give you my full breakdown.
Yeah. Please take it away.
All right. So we've had plenty of TV compound meetings with officials from whether it be the PGA Tour or the R&A, and there's been plenty of other sporting events where you see protesters interrupt the field of play. And so we've always talked about, like, hey, how do we handle it? I think there's always been a plan from a directing standpoint, from the production side of, hey, we're gonna definitely get wide here and take the highest angle to try not to let these idiots have any highlight to whatever their cause is. Like, just get it out, make sure these guys get safe. And so immediately when I watched, I was like, oh my God, this is what's happening. And I have like a couple questions about it all, because how do you get smoke bombs into a golf tournament? Because like there was, I thought the security was really good at this event, because you had to go through a bunch of different things. It's wild to me that you can get something like that through. I'm not sure how that doesn't get picked up on the security stuff. But man, if I was there and had an opportunity, I would have loved to lay somebody's out. I mean, that would have been a dream. Just these freaking idiots, man. Like, what are you doing? It just pissed me off.
You know what?
I'm gonna fill up my gas tank here in a minute.
Yeah,
right when I get done here, I'm gonna fill up my gas tank.
Yeah, well, you know what? Because there are two different ways to approach this. In terms of sentiment, I'm in the same place as you are. The tact I'm gonna take is, this is exactly what they want. They want us talking about this because then they want people to go look it up and you know, whatever. I'm not gonna give them another thought of airtime. I mean, well, I think.
Can you give me a punishment? Like, what is punishment for you? Because I got an idea.
Well, yours. Well, I'm not going to steal your idea. I want you to say on air what you said in text yesterday, which was hilarious.
I had a couple different ideas. I thought one was put all 5 of them on the Travelers umbrella logo in the middle of the lake and banish them until the Travelers the following year, and we'll send over a little, some Cheetos every now and then.
One Cheeto.
Yeah,
one Cheeto a day.
One Cheeto a day for all 5. And we'll see them next year. And we'll see if they're going to have the energy to go onto the green again.
Let's see. I mean, I just, in a bigger picture thought, and this is maybe slightly getting us off the rails, like all these organizations, man, it's not even about the actual cause they're trying to affect change in. It's about, like, drumming up a bunch of interest and look at me and all this type of stuff. And you can be investing actual time and resources in affecting change. But no, we're going to like throw chalk on the greens at TPC River Highlands. Like, great work, guys. I really hope you're achieving your goal. So anyway,
can you imagine? Can you imagine me running out there and just decking a dude? How sick that would be. I mean, that would be awesome.
That'd be an all-time, right? I think you tweeted about it too. A great tackle by the guy who got the protester closest to the pin. It was like it would not have been roughing the passer. Like it was perfect form tackle. Did not leave with the crown of his helmet.
Should have.
Did not fall on the passer. Like it was so perfectly executed. I think I would have ran up and got a little like steel-toed boot in there, but listen, it is what it is.
Would you have gone high or gone low on the tackle? Because like I think the best one is you could have done is they're just running straight and they don't see you, and it's the old blind side, no, like upper hit but you come in from an angle from the side and just totally hit him that way. That's where I would go.
Yeah, I think you could do the crack block. I mean, we should really. I see Jackson in the comments here, who's does a ton of amazing production stuff for us. This guy actually played strong safety at North Dakota State, so like we need Jackson to chime in here with what he would have done. But I feel like it's either a cut block or, to your point, it's just like, you know, go ahead and get your 15-yard necessary roughness penalty and just go straight into the head. Anyway, the part of this I do want to ask you about, as it pertains to the competition, is something you noted about they had to recut a pin for the playoffs. Like I can't remember the last time something like that's happened, which is just absurd. So you were talking about the way that changed the nature of the playoff.
It did.
So what were your thoughts there?
I'd be very upset this morning if I was Paul Tesori and Tom Kim. Because this front right hole location is, I think, the most difficult hole location on that green. We've seen them use that pin before, and when it gets downwind, you really, like for Scotty, can't hit driver off that tee because you get on the downslope and you can't get enough height on the shot because it lands on a bit of a downslope. It takes a big kick forward. I know the greens are softer, but I don't think you could have gotten it closer than 10 feet unless you you would have had it landed right on top of the bunker. And for Tom Kim, he's I would say an octave and a half lower ball flight than Scotty Scheffler. So Scotty's like one level up, 1.5 levels up on iron shots. So Scotty smartly hits 3-wood off the tee to give himself something that he can hit up in the air and high. And Tom Kim pushes it up. And I thought Colt did a great job on the ground there. So it was 111 yards. He's got a lob wedge. And as soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh, man. And like, he's got to hit this. And Colt said, the wind's laying down. I was like, oh, boy. Because now, like, you can't miss hit it at all. Or if you get it offline by a yard, it's going in that bunker. And it's such a difficult up and down. Of course, that's what happens. Plugs, game over. If that whole location would have been exactly where it was during regulation, Tom Kim's making birdie. He's going to continue to make birdie.
I mean, he flagged his approach the first time around.
He's making birdie. And I just think it was so frustrating for whether Tom realizes it or not. I think right away the advantage went to Scotty Scheffler. I was like, this thing's over. I never felt like Tom was winning the playoff when that whole location got switched to the front right.
Yeah, it's a shame that whole thing impacted in the way that it did. I mean, it was watching it in regulation and the way Tom went at that pin was like, wow, this is, that took some serious stones. And then after all that happened, still making that birdie putt, hugely commendable. And then when he talked to Colt after the round, I thought it was cool just to, you could be really dejected after a loss like that, but he's like, I'm proud of what I did this week. There was some fun stuff the PGA Tour put on their social channels of Meredith greeting Tom with Bennett. And
I mean, it's great. Like, listen, how do you not love Tom Kim, right? I think if it was me, I just want to see a little bit more dog, like down the stretch with Tom, like just in the way he's walking and carrying himself. Like, man, because you have to wonder, like the putt he hit on 16 was so bad. It was real bad.
You got to get that in the hole.
And 17 wasn't very good either. Makes a huge putt on 18, so all the credit to him, just stepping up in a huge theater and draining a putt like that. But I just want to see a little bit more dog from Tom and just how he carries himself on Sunday. And listen, he hasn't been there in a bit. He's a guy who's had a really, really tough first half of the year, and we've seen signs that this guy's starting to play better golf. And a guy that, honestly, we probably could have mentioned a little bit more heading into this week being a really good golf course fit for Tom Kim at the Travelers. And as soon as he played well after the first round, I was like, God, I'm kicking myself for not mentioning to you guys on the pod for a guy he kind of found his way on the leaderboard at Memorial. He did the same at the U.S. Open. So he's been finding himself in the leaderboard. So, obviously, really, it's good when Tom Kim's playing well because he is a very likable dude, easy to root for. But I do feel bad for him in the fact that I feel like it was a tough shake. The protesters affected the outcome potentially of him having a better look for birdie in the playoff hole.
Well, we are entering the Tom Kim portion of the calendar, right? Like, I mean,
It is, right? Yeah, good
it's,
point. Yeah.
It's Tom Kim season, man. I mean, he plays great at the Scottish Open. He plays great at the Open Championship. At least played great last year. And then when we kind of start getting into like, July, August, like it is a time of the year when he plays well. So maybe this is one of those things where he just, needed a little bit of this to get him going, and we could see some good performances. Like I kind of love Tom at the Scottish Open when we get there.
Yeah, he's won there.
Yeah.
Right?
Or
no, he finished second.
He finished second. He was in that final pairing last year. Yeah, it was him and Rory. And
I was watching.
Yeah, I mean I think it sets up nice for him to kind of play well in some of these events overseas, and then kind of roll that into the FedEx Cup playoffs.
Technically, despite having the most wins in both the AL and all of Major League Baseball, 52 of them for New York, no longer the best winning percentage.
You expect your front offices to hit that gas pedal when it comes time to get a better team on the field post All-Star break, because the one thing that you know from the Yankees and the Orioles is what, Ben? You're going to fight with each other throughout the stretch here, and you want home field advantage.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
This guy is the mad scientist. I mean, he's all about green density. So in my mind, I feel like he's going to have the green speeds dialed in, and the angles he needs to land them and all that sort of stuff. I feel like he's going to be a good spot and playing the course well. And he's going to be hitting less club into a lot of these par threes too. So I just, we're talking about using a LIV guy. I love Bryson this week. I'm riding with Bryson.
Only on SportsGrid.
This new sports integrity partnership, Genius Sports, is involved in this. More protection.
They said that's going to allow them to beef up their protection and add more integrity monitoring tools to essentially catch bad behavior before it happens. This comes obviously after a just ton of scandals we've had across sports betting lately, whether it's the MLB umpire Pat Hoberg.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Despite me being a Yankee fan, I think Joe would deserve the label as Aaron Judge's biggest fan, not through any bias, but just through the amount of money that he's made anybody who's been betting on him.
I just had him for that home run, and I'm going to go back to it today. That home run coming in at plus 230. Max Fried here, while he has gained strong. This is Aaron Judge.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Well, here's the thing. If you want to make the conditions really difficult and you want to go play a harder golf course, you just want to make it easier for Scotty to win? Or do you want to make it a place like this, which bunches in the field? You had 6 dudes within 2 shots of the lead with like 3 holes left. And I think it makes for really good television and really good storylines. So there's 2 ways you look at it. Make the course really hard, make it easier for Scotty to win, or make Scotty have to really earn it and putt his way to winning.
Yeah.
Right.
I absolutely agreed. I mean, I think that's, and I think the other thing that's interesting along these lines is, what has the complaint been at some of these signature events, like most notably Wells Fargo? It's that there aren't enough players in the field. And so you have one guy just run away, and there's not enough bunching at the top where guys can make a run at it. And we did not see that this week. So take whatever issue you want to with the absolute numbers the scores ended up at, but what you did have was a very exciting finish with a lot of guys potentially in play. Yeah. And I think that's all you can really ask for. I mean, it was such a cool atmosphere there. That sort of amphitheater on 18, and just so one of those guys was in contention. Is do you care to talk about what happened to your one and done pick, Patrick Cantlay, the hex I threw on him?
Do you want to talk about it? Because like I'm still a little PO'd about it.
This is Smylie Show family. Everyone's involved here, so we're peeling back the curtain. I sent a group text to Smylie, Jackson, myself, saying, hey, just taking a check in on our one and done picks. We might want to prep some clips. Patrick Cantlay's tied for the lead. Brian Harmon's a few shots out the lead. Maybe want to get something ready. And at that point, I think Cantlay missed a very makeable birdie putt. And then
at 15, he had an easy up and out at 15, 7-footer. misses, and that was to take the lead outright at 20. He needed a birdie every hole coming in, probably, or just actually 3 out of the last 4. And then 16 absolutely hits a nuke long left over the green. And I was like, Charlie, what the hell, man? You talked to my golf ball when it still was rolling, and then you talk about my one and done picks when they're still playing. Just nobody move, freeze.
I will. Okay, I can commit to this. In the future, I'm just gonna know that Jackson's on top of it, and he's gonna get the clip cut. I don't need to say anything, but I'm just trying to do a good job as a producer, making sure all of our bases are covered.
It was tough.
And by the way, Patrick covered all the bases on 16 by hitting that home run right after.
A lot of people are making some good points about. I want to get to David Stewart and Ruben Roca's comments. One, David said he didn't mind the leaderboard and that he had heard that Travelers had made some changes to make the golf course more difficult. And I would agree. They did make some changes to make the golf course more difficult. Problem is, when you have 2 inches of rain over the weekend and some soft conditions and no wind, it doesn't matter like how they didn't stretch the golf course any really further. The changes they made were some different angles on some tee shots, narrowed in the 6th fairway, which is a par 5, added some fescue on that hole. That probably didn't make too much of a difference. Maybe just made the drive just maybe 0.2 harder from a scoring perspective, but nothing just crazy. They didn't make anything too harder. All the green surfaces stayed relatively the same, except the 11th hole shrunk that green. I think that hole played beautifully this week. One of my favorite holes on the PGA Tour now, that 11th hole. It's become a really awesome par 3, the way they've shrunk that green up. And then Ruben had said he was happy about the leaderboard and he was happy there wasn't a blowout. So I'm kind of with, if Scotty can win golf tournaments with a bunch leaderboard, that's good for golf.
Yeah.
And I think the 2 things that I want to kind of get to, Charlie, I'm not trying to get too far off topic here with Scotty, is that I was talking with Shane Lowry in the airport, and he was telling me that these guys are so pumped that Scotty's winning. The more Scotty wins, the better it is for everybody in the top 30 in the FedEx Cup. They don't want anybody winning from behind them to jump them, because they just think if Scotty just gobbles up all the points that are being offered, that's good for them. So I thought that was really interesting just from a player's perspective. I just wasn't in the mind of somebody who's in the top 30 right now in the Tour Championship, or the top 50 right now in the FedEx Cup, with only 7 weeks before the playoffs. That to me was something I had not thought of too much about. And he also said, it's like, I mean, we're going to get to the Tour Championship. He's only got a 2-shot lead. So, and that to me, what a absolute show travesty this is going to be when Scotty Scheffler loses the Tour Championship, when he wins 8 times or 9 times this year, and has 1 week where he just doesn't play that well.
Right. I mean, we saw it a couple years ago with that kind of showdown with Rory on Sunday. Now that was a different time and a different putter. In fact, some might point to that as like when the putter struggle started originally with his blade, and kind of went through a bunch of iterations. He actually, people kind of forget this. I think he used a spider mallet in at least the first 2 playoff events last year. I'm not sure if he went back to the blade at East Lake, but it will be wild if that happens. It'll be selfishly fun for us to talk about, because it'll be a hilarious storyline. But
I don't want him to win. You know why? Because it's going to incite change. We want the playoffs to change.
Yes.
We want the Tour Championship to change format. So if it means Scotty Scheffler not winning the Tour Championship, by all means, blow it up. I just want the playoffs to be way more exciting than the way that they currently are.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, because I don't know what you do there. I mean, because in a sense it is, if you were handicapping it based off of the way he's played this year, I mean, you come in with like a 20-shot lead and there'd be no excitement because it'll already be over. So it's like, do you want to do it off of merit, or do you want to do it off of what's the most exciting version of it? Like, I don't know what the solve is there, but I do know that if he doesn't win after the year he's had, there will have to be some sort of change. This is a tweet from @Golf Monthly, who said just kind of along these lines, just check in on where Scotty is monetarily thus far. Imagine a pro golfer who won 6 PGA Tour titles, including the Masters, with on-course earnings of $28 million, some career. That's the first half of Scotty Scheffler's 2024. I forget where I saw it, but like in projecting the rest of the season, Scotty could get to like $60 million in on-course earnings if he wins the Tour Championship and gets that bonus. In 1 year.
I was kind of thinking about this in the car leaving Travelers, wondering, I wonder what Scotty is going to like buy first, because he probably doesn't even know how much money he even has. He probably just has been just kind of chilling, just hanging out, probably in this whatever house in Dallas. And now I think he needs to be like, we're buying a boat. Or he got to do something crazy, right? Like, if you have all that money, like, what are you going to do with it, right? Like, that'd be some fun.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Unless there's other items you want to hit here, I think it's worth kind of touching on the LIV scene this week. I mean, I saw a lot of the highlights, and it seemed like it was, like, again, like, let's give credit where credit's due. Bryson got a hero's welcome.
The only thing we, before we flip to LIV,
sure.
If there's two knots I want to tie, it's
sure.
We need to talk about Cam Young's 59.
Yeah.
Like, just a little bit more in depth than passing, and Ludwig Oberg.
I mean, losing strokes on the green on Saturday is still shooting 62.
And anytime I can push back LIV talk for just another like 5 minutes, I'm actually cool with it.
I mean, I think the thing about Cam Young is, I mean, what he did was tremendous. It doesn't sit right with me, some of the takes I saw in relation to Cam Young of like, we need to, the equipment, this is evidence that the equipment needs to be changed and this and that. It's like, dude, he's just playing a short golf course with the ball in hand and it's soft. Like, now, does that impact what he shot to a certain degree? Yes, of course it does. But it's still, you have to go, hit the ball 59 times and then pick it up out of the cup on the 18th hole and walk off the green. I mean, that's an unreal accomplishment.
Yeah, I thought Cam making that putt on 18 was kind of the moment of, we needed Cam Young to just step up to do something. If it's 59, so be it. We just wanted to see something out of Cam Young that matched what his potential and his talent and what we know he can be. Just the glimpse that we saw a couple years back, finishing second at the Open Championship, and a player that just seemed like he was about to light the world on fire with how good he was going to be, and has definitely taken his lumps over the last year. And it hasn't been poor golf. It's just been hasn't necessarily gotten himself in contention, and he's had issues with the putter for the most part. I would say has been a big problem, and then just some inconsistent weeks. But Cam Young's a player that, golly, just when you look at it, it's just drop dead talent, man. It's just a player that doesn't necessarily have like a ton of charisma. Not a guy that is just eating up the press conferences and just is a great interview by any means. He's just a dude that's really good at golf. He's chill, 3 kids now, just kind of goes to work. And and I'll say that would to me was a really big moment for Cam. Just like, hey, I can do this. Like I just made a putt that I had to make. So for Cam Young, why don't we just watch out for him the rest of the year? Maybe this is going to propel him to some bigger and better things, whether it's winning his first PGA Tour event, or let's say it's potentially contending at the Open Championship, or maybe
he's played well,
or maybe a run at the playoffs. Who knows? That wouldn't surprise me at all either. 3 really good weeks in a row, and maybe you have a Billy Horschel type of finish where he goes and wins a Tour Championship. So I just want to say with Cam, let's just commend him going and accomplishing something, shooting a 59, the 13th in the Tour's history. I know the golf course, like you mentioned, soft and easy, but still give the credit where it's due. It was impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the thing that is ironic is like, isn't it the most Cam Young thing in the world to like do it at one place where that probably doesn't win you the golf tournament? You know, should have been his first PGA Tour win, but you're at a place where everybody's going deep and you got to do a little bit more. And he went out and, you know, birdied his first 4 holes on Sunday, and you're thinking he's going to go out and do it again. He's going to win this thing outright. But I mean, I think it's a guy that played great a couple years ago in that final round of the 2022 Open.
Mm-hmm.
Paired with Cam Smith, ended up finishing second. A lot of people forget that. I think it was that Cam Smith Rory race. He snuck in there and got solo second.
Yeah.
And so similar to Tom Kim fashion, it's like I'm on Cam Young alert now. Like I think he could really kind of pick it up in July and heading into the Tour Championship and all that in August.
What'd you shoot on the weekend? I shot 59.66. How many did you win by? Well, I finished 9th. It's like, what do you mean you finished 9th?
Unreal. Feels like we've done all the content we can do. And my dogs are barking. My son's making lots of noise downstairs. So I think this is the best place.
Tell everybody about our episode this week.
Oh, that's right.
It's already in the hatch.
It's already in the hatch. It's an interesting way to describe it. I don't know.
Down the hatch.
Down the hatch, in the chamber,
in the queue.
In the queue. Did you
in the CUE in the queue?
Did you? Yeah, there's a fun Twitter exchange that we had last night. Johnson Wagner be joining us on Wednesday. This was recorded last week in the wake of his superstar turn at the U.S. Open, hitting a bunker shot to a foot after Bryson rolled up on him in a golf cart carrying the trophy. So delighted to be sharing that with you all on Wednesday.
Yeah. So we're let's get organized. Let's get our minds right. It's gonna be a big week. SK is gonna head out to the range, figure out where his golf game is, and Charlie's gonna keep moving in. So
we keep moving in. Yeah, thank you for all of your patience with the ongoing tech situation. But I'm gonna close this, and we're gonna build out a studio, and my video is gonna look as good as yours next time I talk to you when I return from Scotland. So that's what we got for you.
All right, get to work. Enjoyed it.
All right, it's time to hit the outro.
Yeah, hit the outro.
Hit the outro. All right, see ya.
A sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
11 and 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Rory Mack, it's going to be remembered. It will be a lasting image from the 2024 United States Open, just like Bryson DeChambeau's 55-yard bunker shot.
We love big-time winners. Like, you win a championship, we want to hear from you. You get the stage. Sometimes it's emotional. It's a great watch. We know we also love the losers who said, you know what, I just can't believe I folded down the stretch. Let me face the music here. You sort of get a new light there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Hello and welcome to a Tuesday Live right here on the Early Line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination to consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern Time. A Tuesday looking back on a Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Final. A sentence alone that should spike your heart rate, as we saw last night in Sunrise, and for the first time in franchise history, a franchise that is just 30 years old, the Panthers hoist Lord Stanley's Cup. Everything that happened in Game 7 last night, what it means for this NHL season and beyond, and so much more. Around the Major League Baseball diamond, around the college baseball diamond, a decisive Game 3 last night in Omaha at the Men's College World Series between Tennessee and Texas A&M, with both programs looking for their first ever national championship. It's a jam-packed Tuesday here on TEL.
Absolutely it is. I was able to stay up at least to see it 2-1, and the game ended 2-1. Caught the highlights this morning, but it must be fantastic to be in the building when Lord Stanley's Cup is handed out, which it was yesterday in Sunrise, Florida. So it was a fun watch and a great NHL season as we now sort of focus our attention on Major League Baseball. And also that College World Series started out with a blast right away from the Tennessee Volunteers. Maybe the best team all season long, won that championship there, and deservedly so. It was a good night last night. Championships were awarded there, Ben.
They absolutely were. The number one national seed in Tennessee victorious, and the team at home in Sunrise after winning 3 to start the Stanley Cup Final in a row and then dropping 3 consecutive games. They prevail in the 7th and final. For the first time in franchise history, a franchise that began play in the National Hockey League in the 1993-94 season exactly 3 decades ago, the Florida Panthers are a Stanley Cup champion. 2-1 the victory last night in Sunrise for the Panthers. A game DRS that was a dead even pick'em in a winner-take-all Game 7, -110 on the money line for both Florida and Edmonton. And last night was the 18th all-time Game 7 in a Stanley Cup Final, and like 16 prior and now make it 17, the game stays under 5.5. The under had the hefty juice, and it stays under. Sergei Bobrovsky, sensational once again, book ending the Stanley Cup Final. And when I saw Donnie Rightside tweet out Sam Reinhart's game-winning goal in the second period, my first thought was, ooh, that might be the clincher for the Panthers. And secondly, Donnie's still up. He was, to see the Panthers win a Stanley Cup for the first time ever.
Yeah, I don't know who you were following last night, but I'm not so sure I actually tweeted the second goal out. But I did tweet in the first period when that game was rocking and rolling at 1-1. It was an entertaining game right off the bat. And if anybody was watching first 5-6 minutes of that first period, you thought you might be getting into a 6-5 final and maybe even into an overtime game. But that third period, I was watching the highlights, had it all. And you want to talk about Bobrovsky coming up big in some big moments? He absolutely did that, including the fantastic defense by the Florida Panthers, blocking shot after shot, even even before getting to Bobrovsky. A awesome NHL final series here, which goes to 7 games. The only thing we were hoping for, Ben, probably a little overtime action, which we were close on, but you do have to sell. That was a very good regular season team with an unbelievable run here and hanging on at the end, because there was a lot of, whoo, we won the Stanley Cup. But then when you realize they won it, the party was on down there in South Florida.
So, Donnie, maybe it wasn't in the second period, but even the first, I was astounded that you were still awake.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you have to witness a Game 7 in a Stanley Cup final. 24 shots faced by the man known as Bob last night. He saved 23 of them, Sergei Bobrovsky. Carter Verhaeghe, a goal and an assist, and Sam Reinhart will be remembered in Florida history forever. The game-winning in the Stanley Cup clinching goal in the second period. And how the game ended, as you heard last night, very fitting for the physical style of play that Florida relies on. The puck in the corner as the clock winded down toward 0. 3 of the 4 wins for the Panthers stay under a total, and the Panthers a Stanley Cup champ. The Oilers were looking for their first Stanley Cup since 1990. The nation of Canada, the Great White North and the home of hockey, looking for its first Stanley Cup in 31 years. Those droughts will continue, but despite a losing effort for Edmonton, Connor McDavid, after a historic postseason run, still wins the Conn Smythe Award, becoming just the second skater in the history of the Stanley Cup playoffs to win the Conn Smythe, the postseason MVP, on the losing side of the Stanley Cup final, joining Donnie's Philadelphia Flyers legend Reggie Leach back in 1976.
Yeah, Connor McDavid was absolutely fantastic throughout this playoff run. You just thought maybe he had one more game in him that he could absolutely turn into like a Michael Jordan type figure of dominating a game number 7. Wasn't able to do that. But also, let me shout out the Edmonton Oilers fans here quickly. It started that game yesterday, Ben, and you heard, like, the tradition in Edmonton is they'll sing the Canadian national anthem. They were so loud here, they forced the American audience to also sing along with Alanis Morissette, which both audiences were faster than the actual singer themselves. So I got a pretty good chuckle out of that. But my goodness, when those first 2 goals went off, you couldn't tell who actually was the home team. It was an awesome environment all the way through at that point. But yes, Connor McDavid certainly deservedly here, even in a losing effort. He was the best player by far throughout these Stanley Cup runs and throughout the playoffs.
42 points recorded for Connor McDavid. That's the 4th most ever in a single Stanley Cup postseason, but held without a point in Game 6 and 7. For the first time, they are partnering on Rocky Top as an NCAA baseball champion. The Tennessee Volunteers win their first national title in program history last night in Omaha in the Men's College World Series in the Game 3 final. 6-5 the final. The Vols victorious. They were booked as a -180 money line favorite for the game. A total of 10.5 somehow gets over. We'll focus on the bad beat component a little bit later on in this opening hour. But the Volunteers victorious, becoming the first #1 national seed to win a national championship since Donnie's Miami Hurricanes back in 1999, the first year ever we used national seeds for the NCAA baseball tournament.
Yeah, hot day out there in Omaha for sure, and that ball was traveling, multiple home runs in that game. Now, granted, you see the 6-5 score. To me, watching bits and pieces of that game, it didn't feel like it was a 6-5 game. It always felt like right off the jump, the Vols were in complete control of that game. But credit Texas A&M for fighting back and at least making it close at the end, where maybe in one base knock here, one base knock there would have tied that game up. But well-deserving championship here for the Tennessee Volunteers, no doubt about it.
The Vols were up 6-1 at the end of 7. The Aggies did play 2 in each the 8th and the 9th. Again, we'll get to that bad beat in a little bit. History yesterday on the MLB Diamond. The first 1-3-5 triple play in Major League Baseball since 1929. It's what the Phillies turned yesterday in a big win in Detroit over the Tigers, 8-1. And outside of the triple play, 5 ribbies for Bryce Harper, 3 RBIs for Alec Boehm. The Philadelphia Phillies get a big win on the road.
Yeah, how about this, too? Like, Casey Mize has 10 strikeouts in under 5 innings pitched. You figured he would absolutely was mowing down the Philadelphia Phillies, but the Phillies end up with 15 hits and 8 runs, which includes Bryce Harper having a banner day. 5 RBI, now hitting over 300. He's welcomed himself right into that MVP race with Shohei Ohtani now, but also That was an interesting triple play, which sometimes say, well, why does that happen in basically 100 years? Well, some of the runners have to not be paying attention at all and just figure like, base hit up the middle. I'm just going to run home at this point. It was interesting to watch it play out, but that was a really key instance in this game when you could have had, let's just say, a base hit for Detroit there, get them back into that game. Triple play took it all out of the air. Phillies won easily yesterday against the Tigers.
Quickly here, the Red Sox stay red hot. Jarren Duran, a walk-off RBI for the first time in his career. Boston beats the Blue Jays 7-6.
Yeah, I like that Boston Red Sox team. We'll leave it there.
And we'll go through the final two very quickly. Scotty Barnes intends to sign a 5-year, $270 million rookie max extension with the Toronto Raptors. Donnie shares his thoughts. And in the soccer, Donnie's favorite sport, Italy and Spain advance in the Euros.
Goal.
The Italians at the death. Brazil draws its opener against Costa Rica to start Copa America. We're fired up. More TEL next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Can he be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just
Sometimes
did.
the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
40-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
He went bogey, double, par, birdie, bogey. Thomas Dietrich's all over the place here today.
This golf course is so volatile where it can make you look like a fool in just a matter of minutes. And, you look at a guy like Thomas Dietrich. He's right there tied for the lead or whatever it was, and now he's like 4 or 5 over in the wink of an eye.
In-game live, all access, only on SportsGrid.
Despite me being a Yankee fan, I think Joe would deserve the label as Aaron Judge's biggest fan, not through any bias, but just through the amount of money that he's made anybody who's been betting on him.
I just had him for that home run, and I'm going to go back to it today. That home run coming in at plus 230. Max Fried here, while he has been strong, this is Aaron Judge.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Around MLB from a Monday that featured 12 games, and half of the 12 decided by just a single run. A lot of good baseball to break down for you here on this Tuesday morning on the early line. We start with the hottest active team in MLB, featured in one of those one-run games yesterday. The Guardians on the road in Baltimore entered the game in the Charm City on a 5-game win streak, make that 6 in a row for Cleveland. Jose Ramirez, a big day yesterday. A couple of the RBIs of the 3 runs the Guardians scored, including the game-winning solo shot in the 6th inning. 3-2 the victory for the Guardians. They have now won 6 straight games.
And by the way, you're taking a look at the Baltimore Orioles now on the opposite side. They got to get out of their own way right now, stacking up loss after loss after loss. If you want to hang around there with the New York Yankees, you better start winning. Povich on the mound. The young kid now drops to 0-2, but he was okay last night. If you would have told me before the game I'm going to get 5 2/3 innings pitch and 3 earned runs, okay, you're right in this game to win it. It just wasn't enough. And by the way, Bybee, sensational yesterday. Goes on the road against one of the better hitting teams in Major League Baseball. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, only 1 earned run, and 7 Ks through 96 pitches. That'll get the job done, handing it over to a very good bullpen that they have. again, we talk about the Guardians of what they've done this year. 50 wins now on the season. That is absolutely tremendous. But I'm sort of watching now the Orioles. It's a long season. You go through great win streaks sometimes. Sometimes you go on a losing streak. The Orioles are on one right now. Let's see if they can get out of their own way. But another great win for the Guardians on the road. And again, Bybee was sensational, improving to 6-2.
The O's swept this weekend by the Houston Astros. That was uncharacteristic, at least for this 2024 MLB campaign. So now 4 straight losses for Baltimore. The winner of yesterday's game was going to get to the 50-win benchmark, joining the Yankees and the Phils as the other 2 teams across MLB to win at least 50 games this year. It's the Cleveland Guardians. Again, the hottest active team in Major League Baseball, the longest active win streak, make it 6 in a row, and a .658 win percentage, 50-26, the record for the Guardians. That's the best win percentage in all of the American League. Baltimore now, because they have dropped 4 straight, 49-29, third best record in the AL, 2 games behind the New York Yankees within the American League East. And Donnie, as we have discussed, Cleveland has an 8-game lead in the American League Central. They'll be pushed, I'm sure, at points this summer and into September by the Minnesota Twins and the Kansas City Royals, but a very comfortable margin here nearing the end of June. So it's not necessarily what will the Guardians do in the AL Central race the remainder of the regular season, but how do they position themselves for a playoff run, and what can a team out of the Central do come postseason baseball?
Yeah, you have to add on. And every once in a while you take a look at it. It's really sometimes both of these central divisions. Like outside of, let's just say, Chicago Cubs, who should be operating like the New York Yankees, but sort of been able to hide in the Central here with the other teams. Like, we don't have to make changes. We sell it every night. We just, fill our coffers with money. The interesting part about the Guardians is it doesn't come around often where you say to yourself, the Guardians are a team from the Central, are one of the best, if not the best teams in baseball. Let's just take a look. 50 wins will put you in that conversation, but it's also how they handle themselves, because Cleveland will operate as a smaller market. They can't afford to go out and pay the top 2 pitchers on the market at the deadline, inherit all of that salary, and give up prospects here into the future just for one chance at a championship, when technically that's really the way you should operate. You're supposed to set yourself up, let's just say, once every 5 to 6 years for a deep playoff run. That's when you go all in. And that's what the hope for me is, that the Guardians understand that they have a legitimate chance to win the pennant in the American League, therefore make those appropriate adjustments. And I've said it many, many times. It's a shame that the Guardians are actually 8 games over Minnesota. You say, well, why would you say that? Because it just forces the hand of the ownership group to say, look, if we want to win this division, we're going to have to add on pieces. You might get to the point where we get to the All-Star game and the Guardians have a 10-plus game lead here. By the time we get there, they go, you know what? We're good. We obviously have a good team, and we'll see what happens in the playoffs. You can't do that. Can't rest on your laurels. That's the only thing I worry about right now with the Guardians, even though I love what I see out of them.
The Guardians, that 4th best price to win a pennant in the American League at plus 750 behind the Yankees, the Orioles, and the Seattle Mariners at this moment. That 8-game advantage in the AL Central, minus 240, the price for Cleveland to win the division. Not the heftiest juice for a team that has an 8-game advantage nearing the end of June, and not all that far away from the All-Star break. Now we go elsewhere around MLB. Cleveland has the longest active win streak, 6 victories in a row. But the Red Sox also right there with the Guardians as one of the hottest teams in the bigs. Make that 8 wins in their last 9 games in walk-off fashion last night in Fenway. Jarren Duran, RBI winner for Boston. His first career walk-off. The Celtics on their championship tour were there last night, and they got to see the Red Sox walk it off. Boston takes the opener of this AL East divisional duel to start this week.
Yeah, how about that? 5 unanswered runs in the bottom of the 8th inning and the bottom of the 9th inning to win this one. 11 total hits. I really like this team. And by the way, Boston right now, that's a playoff team. They're getting great starting pitching, quality bullpen work, but also the young talent is really showing up. A lot of these guys, you probably didn't even know their name on opening day. I love the top 4 in that lineup. Duran, Hamilton, Abreu, and Devers doing damage on a night-to-night basis here, because you have that great combination of speed and power at the top of that lineup, because once you get on the bases, the worst pitcher pitcher's and catcher's worst nightmare is you are running to second base, you're running to third base, you're creating a commotion, and also those guys are hitting for average, 293, 282, 264, 282. I really like what I see out of the Boston Red Sox. Again, a really fun team to bet. If it's an RBI prop, it's a base stealing prop, any way you want to play it, that lineup is delivering and also getting quality pitching on a day-to-day basis here. Look, Boston's going to make the playoffs. I believe that.
3 of their top 4 hitters yesterday, including Jarren Duran, and then David Hamilton in the 2-hole and Rafi Devers in that cleanup spot. 2 RBIs out of both Hamilton and Devers, and a game-winning ribby from Jarren Duran. And Tanner Houck, not bad, the ace of the staff for the Red Sox. So all 3 of these games that we discuss decided by a single run. Again, 12 yesterday on the Monday card, 6 decided by a single run, including the Rays. A 4-3 victory. Tampa scored 2 in the bottom of the 8th to pick up the win over Seattle.
Taj Bradley, terrible on the road, sensational at home. 5 in the third innings pitched, only 1 earned run. But sometimes if I thought Tampa Bay was going to win that game, and I did, better to be lucky than good. Needed a late comeback in order to get it done, but they did. And how about this? Tampa Bay, 1 game under 500 now. We'll see what they can do.
The Mariners have dropped 5 of their last 6. We'll keep going around MLB up next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Can he be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just
Sometimes
did.
the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
40-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
He went bogey, double, par, birdie, bogey. Thomas Dietrich's all over the place here today.
This golf course is so volatile where it can make you look like a fool in just a matter of minutes. And, you know, you look at a guy like Thomas Dietrich. You know, he's right there tied for the lead or whatever it was, and now he's like 4 or 5 over in the wink of an eye.
In-game live, all access, only on SportsGrid.
Despite me being a Yankee fan, I think Joe would deserve the label as Aaron Judge's biggest fan, not through any bias, but just through the amount of money that he's made anybody who's been betting on him.
I just had him for that home run, and I'm going to go back to it today. That home run coming in at plus 230. Max Fried here, while he has been strong, this is Aaron Judge.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
On paper, if I were to tell you the LA Dodgers, even on the road in Chicago, knocked off the White Sox by a final score of 3-0, you would say, yeah, okay. But yesterday, the odds did not really anticipate an easy victory for LA. Of course, they were booked as a favorite, as they've only been booked as an underdog less than a handful of times this season, but it was only minus 120. Closing money line in favor of LA, with James Paxton getting the start for the Dodgers and Garrett Crochet, who's been sensational for the Sox all year, getting the start for Chicago. Some weather caused a delay, but LA wins 3-0 to open up their midweek set over the White Sox. Chicago remains the worst team in MLB, only 21 wins. The Dodgers now a single victory away from getting to the 50-win benchmark.
Yeah, you just take a look at the betting, lines on this game per se, right? You saw the full game; the Dodgers were the favorite, but it was almost a reversal in that first 5 innings, which is the way I bet this game. I wanted Crochet to go toe to toe with Paxton, a guy that's been dominant, particularly at home in Crochet, against a guy in Paxton who does have good numbers with an ERA of 3.39, but struggling in those analytical terms like xFIP numbers. And I thought they would be able to get some base hits. Chicago wasn't able to do that, but at the end of 5 innings, it was 0-0. So you got to push back on that. Late in the game, you figure the Dodgers bullpen is better than the White Sox, better players. Eventually, they're going to be able to break through. And they did that. That's what good teams like the Dodgers are supposed to do, beat bad teams like the Chicago White Sox. But it always is interesting to see because midday yesterday, let's just say the Dodgers were as high as like a minus 135 favorite, but on the first 5 line, Crochet was like a minus 125 favorite. That's very rare to see that. And it played out almost exactly the way the odds makers thought. Better pitch in the first 5 innings, Chicago, but nobody got any base hits. Better team overall, the Dodgers will make them the favorite for the game. They pick up the victory yesterday. Good win by the Dodgers, shut out of the White Sox. That's what you're supposed to do.
5 2/3 out of Crochet, only 5 base knocks allowed, 0 earned runs, 6 Ks. 6-6 this year with a 3.05 ERA. He's been incredible. Those 6 wins, by the way, since the month of May, the White Sox have actually won 6 of his 10 starts that he's made since May began, just not the most recent 2. And for a team that only has 21 wins, 6 of them coming with Garrett Crochet on the bump, goes to show how good he has been this year. Shohei Ohtani did add some insurance in the 9th, a sac fly RBI. He's batting .318 this year. Donnie, a new market has emerged. Shohei Ohtani versus the field. To win the NL MVP, minus 120 for Ohtani, minus 102 for everybody else. In the outright MVP odds in the National League, minus 125 for Ohtani, plus 190 for Bryce Harper. And that leads us into our next conversation. The Phils yesterday, a hefty road favorite on the road in the Motor City, and they made good on that minus 180 moneyline price, victorious by a final score of 8-1. Bryce Harper, one of the main reasons why. 5 ribbies yesterday for the Phils. Aaron Nola great. Alec Boehm adds on 3 RBIs. And as we shared, the first 1-3-5 triple play recorded since 1929 in Major League Baseball. The Phils take the opener in Detroit.
Yeah, Boehm now 64 RBI on the season. You take a look at Bryce Harper at 56. Also, the Phillies went 5 of 14 with runners in scoring position and left 12 guys on base and still scored 8 times. Here's the interesting part. Do we expect the Phillies to win yesterday with Nolan on the mound? Probably so. Did the Phillies strike out sometimes a little bit too much? Yes, they do. But they do got some power in the middle of that lineup. And also, talking about that MVP market, I wouldn't bet anybody else. I wouldn't take any field. It's going to be Ohtani or it's going to be Harper. Here's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
Harper now starting to hit that gas pedal, closing that gap on Ohtani. The one thing to watch it play out is that bias, and rightfully so, that Major League Baseball writers will have against a guy who's just a DH versus a guy who's playing the field and hitting well at the plate. So for my money right now, and it's not a homer pick, because I don't know, hey, Harper's going to be MVP all season long. I'm just looking at what typically happens here. If these two guys are close in numbers by the end of the season, Harper's going to be the MVP because he's going to get the bonus. Now, granted, if Ohtani was still on the mound and only pitching every 5th day and not playing the field at all, he would obviously be in the driver's seat.
Right.
But I know that stigma that they have saying, you know what, I don't know if I want to give it just to a DH. They'll look around for the next best option. And if Harper's over 300 with 40-plus home runs, 120-plus RBI, he's going to win the MVP.
I am not a Philadelphia homer, but Donnie's assessment is spot on, especially from a betting perspective. Yes, anybody could emerge in July, August to win the NL MVP, and injury is a huge component, as we saw Mookie Betts virtually eliminated from this race. But Bryce Harper right now has that value at plus 190 as opposed to betting the field for anything else. By the way, yesterday, the Cardinals a victory over the Atlanta Braves as a home underdog under the arch. 4 straight wins for St. Louis. They scored all 4 of their runs in the 3rd and then held on the rest of the way. St. Louis has won 9 of their last 12. The Braves still victorious in 8 of their last 11. A breakdown from Game 7 of the Stanley Cup next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Can he be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game
And guess
time
what?
decisions.
I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just
Sometimes
did.
the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
40-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
He went bogey, double, par, birdie, bogey. Thomas Dietrich's all over the place here today.
This golf course is so volatile where it can make you look like a fool in just a matter of minutes. And, you look at a guy like Thomas Dietrich. He's right there tied for the lead or whatever it was, and now he's like 4 or 5 over in the wink of an eye.
In-game live, all access, only on SportsGrid.
Despite me being a Yankee fan, I think Joe would deserve the label as Aaron Judge's biggest fan, not through any bias, but just through the amount of money that he's made anybody who's been betting on him.
I just had him for that home run, and I'm going to go back to it today. That home run coming in at plus 230. Max Fried here, while he has been strong, this is Aaron Judge.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
How is the Sunshine State feeling after Stanley Cup final game number 7? You'll find out right now as Casey Hudson joins us bright and early on this Tuesday morning on the early line down there in Florida. Not exactly in Sunrise, but still happy for those Florida Panthers, I would presume, after a Game 7 victory last night. To recap everything we saw in the 7th and final game of a wild Stanley Cup final and what it means around the National Hockey League, Casey is here on this Tuesday. Casey, as always, thank you so much. I know I speak on behalf of all of us here and Donnie. Nobody better that we could hope for to talk about the final day of the NHL season than Casey Hudson.
Oh, you guys flatter me, but I would wake up early for no one other than you two, especially after hockey paradise continues to thrive.
Absolutely so. So, Casey, looking back on game number 7, an electric atmosphere in Sunrise. Tons of Oilers fans. The first 7 minutes of the game, the two clubs exchanged goals, and then things slowed down a little bit. Sam Reinhart, though, scoring in the second period early on, and that was the game winner and the Stanley Cup clincher. For the first time in franchise history, the Florida Panthers hoist Lord Stanley's Cup. 2-1 the final in game number 7. Casey, what will you remember most from the 7th game of this 2024 Stanley Cup final?
One of the things I'm going to remember most is just some of the massive saves that Bob came up with, but how the team or the defense collectively came in front of him. We saw one of those scrambles last night in the third period where you've got like 3 Panther sweaters in the crease. Bob is on the outside sliding around, lost his stick on the opposite side. It's those moments that help you pull through and win these massive games and win the most important game and host the most important trophy. But, of course, the conversation is going to go around going up 3-0 in the series, almost completely blowing your chance to hoist the cup. The Oilers bouncing back and making history in a numerical amount of ways. So there's a lot to take from this Stanley Cup. But the best part about it is how many new fans it brought into the sport and how many viewers it brought in from all the way down in South Florida up to Alberta. So it's a lot to take in and it's a lot to remember.
It's crazy that, one of these states that, I guess the southernmost state in Florida, hockey dynasties, it seemed like they being here with the Tampa Bay, run that they've had in the past. Now Florida's winning Stanley Cups. Edmonton and Canada can't win any here. But I love the pageantry here, Casey, of game number 7. It's one of those things where I like to tune in and almost like the first half hour of the game before it even starts, as opposed to the game itself. I thought the crowd was electric. I was so impressed by the Edmonton Oilers fan base flying all that way down. And sometimes I couldn't tell who actually had the home game yesterday. But talk to me about this. Paul Maurice, he's been a hockey coach for a long time, but now taking center stage. I really enjoy his press conferences here. It looks like he was calm, cool, and collected, even though his team was up 3-0. Then it was 3-1, 3-2, 3-3. Never shifted here. Talk to me about Paul Maurice finally winning a Stanley Cup here and what it means to him.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine how emotional he's going to wake up today and hungover. But 30 years, I mean, if you pay attention to some of the press conferences Paul Maurice has had in probably the last 5-6 seasons, there was a moment there where his career he was about to call it. He was going to just kind of let it be what it was and retire, go fishing. That was one of the questions after he obviously won the cup last night. But he's such a humble person, and he's somebody that really cares about his players. He is a player's coach. So this means a lot for him because he was able to pull through for guys who, as he mentioned, you don't see much emotion out of. He said he saw Sam Bennett smile for the first time in 2 years. I can't imagine coaching a guy like that. So he's weathering so many emotions. He's keeping so many different personalities focused and hopeful and engaged. And I think that it means a lot for him to be able to do that for his players. But a lot of shout outs to his mom and dad. The fact that you get so close to calling it a career and now you get to lift a Stanley Cup and the first one for a franchise, there's just a multitude of things that emphasize what Paul Maurice did, not only for the team, but for the community down in South Florida, Florida as a whole. And hockey's only going to get better if the U.S. continues to buy in. And that starts in the South, and he's a huge imprint of that. So he's been tremendous. Best press conferences. He's very transparent. And the fact that he said we're taking this to a Game 7 in the beginning, he already knew what his team was capable of and what this roller coaster was going to consist of. And I think because he said that in the beginning, because he had that confidence and that poise in the beginning, they got to a Game 7, they got back to their form, and now they're Stanley Cup champions.
Casey, an awesome moment that kind of encapsulated all of that emotion in one. When Paul Maurice was on camera with the ESPN broadcast when he was handed the Stanley Cup for the first time, and said it was almost fitting that this went to 7 games because they had to lose 3 to learn how to win 4. It has not been easy for the Panthers the last 2 years, despite getting to their second consecutive Stanley Cup final. Now, of course, after every hockey game, they hand out the 3 stars, where star number 1, the 1 star, is given to the game's best performer. Who would you have given that number 1 star to last night after the Panthers were victorious in Game 7?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm going to just go for Carter Verhaeghe, not because he picked up the goal, but it's the fact that your key players have to show up in those key moments. And Verhaeghe hadn't scored since Game 1. And not to mention is that a team that was pretty consistent in at least picking up 1 goal in the first period went on a bit of a drought there. So Carter Verhaeghe not only, broke the drought, but he got back to rare form, which is picking up those really crucial goals. And it was a beautiful deflection that he was able to get himself involved in. So I do want to give that to him because that was a tone setter. Even though the Oilers responded in the same fashion they typically did, on a breakaway, kind of not having any more pressure on them aside from the speed and the momentum that they created in that moment. But, Carter Verhaeghe got that crucial goal to get them going. So he would kind of be my first star. But outside of that, Barkov, I know they're talking about him, but we're still not talking about him enough. The matchups that he's gone in every single round, his crucial role, the amount of goals that he has limited in general. If it was not for Barkov, we cannot say the Florida Panthers would be here today.
Yeah, Casey, looking at that first goal by Verhaeghe, boy, did they need that too. Got the building going, even though it ended up 1-1 at the end of the first period. Just getting that first one here, not being down, had to be great for them. But if you take a look at the Florida Panthers as a season here, 11th in the standings, I should say the odds market to open the season at a at 20-1. All-Star break plus 950, entering the playoffs 7-1, and then entering into the final at a minus 134. They were sensational all the way through and got better as it went along. But the focus I want to see here is Connor McDavid. We know he's He's one of the greats in the game, and what an unbelievable story to tell if they were down 0-3 and he puts the Oilers in that city and Canada on his back to win a game number 7 and a Stanley Cup. It didn't happen. So taking a look forward at Connor McDavid, he was sensational once again here. What's the future for him and also the future for the Edmonton Oilers?
I feel like Connor McDavid has said it a number of times, and we can see his humility through his press conferences and his demeanor. He has no intention of bailing on the Oilers, and maybe getting this much closer is going to be that much more impactful and powerful for a guy like Connor McDavid, which is very scary. They went through a coaching change. They were very slow out the gate for this season. He's been battling a number of injuries, so it's not like the Oilers failed him or he failed the Oilers. With everything they had to overcome this season, to make it to a Stanley Cup final was impeccable. So I think that they have probably one of the best motivations heading into next season. They don't have a bunch of cap space issues, so they have a good core to just continue to build around. We saw some good depth from younger guys getting involved, so they just have minor adjustments to make where they can alleviate Connor McDavid a little bit and let him flourish at the right time of the season. That head coach and him obviously have chemistry. They've worked together previously in his career, and I think that's just going to play a larger role in what's to come in the upcoming season. But for him to even keep his team in this, those crucial 8 points that he picked up in games 4 and 5, he's just going to continue to try to throw the Oilers on his shoulder and pull them through the finish line to hoist the cup. And in the next year or two, he could potentially do that very much so.
You saw the odds right there. Edmonton tied for the fourth best price at 10-1 to win next year's Stanley Cup. This was the first appearance for the Oilers in a Stanley Cup final since 2006, the first in Connor McDavid's career. And despite winning the Conn Smythe in a losing effort, a historic postseason, fourth most points recorded in a single playoff run with 42. Casey Hudson, thank you for everything all NHL season long. We appreciate your time always. More on the early line comes your way up next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Can he be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just
Sometimes
did.
the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
40-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
He went bogey, double, par, birdie, bogey. Thomas Dietrich's all over the place here today.
This golf course is so volatile where it can make you look like a fool in just a matter of minutes. And, you look at a guy like Thomas Dietrich. He's right there tied for the lead or whatever it was, and now he's like 4 or 5 over in the wink of an eye.
In-game live, all access, only on SportsGrid.
Despite me being a Yankee fan, I think Joe would deserve the label as Aaron Judge's biggest fan, not through any bias, but just through the amount of money that he's made anybody who's been betting on him.
I just had him for that home run, and I'm going to go back to it today. That home run coming in at plus 230. Max Fried here, while he has been strong, this is Aaron Judge.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA offseason, the summer never not with drama in the National Basketball Association, and we break it down here on this Tuesday on the early line on SportsGrid. Yesterday in LA, the new head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers introduced. That was J.J. Redick. He had plenty to say. He dropped an F-bomb. He was asked about Dan Hurley. He was asked about his conversations with LeBron throughout this coaching search. And in fact, DRS, about their podcast, the Mind the Game podcast. Would it continue in season with LeBron James and his head coach, J.J. Redick? Redick shared his thoughts.
I am, for the time being, and hopefully it's a very, very long time, I am excommunicated from the content space, so there would be no podcast. We'll do something when I have a breather from what we have coming up. I'm going to be drinking out of a fire hose for the next month, but at some point we'll just do something for all the people that listened, and we'll have a small little video. But I'm done with podcasting for now.
Listen, podcasting can get you an NBA head coaching job. They take the early line every day and put it into a podcast wherever you find your favorite podcast. Maybe we're in line next, but DRS, do you buy it? Do you want that podcast from Redick and his star player, LeBron James, next year?
Yes, why not? I mean, opinionated, man. This is what we are now. We want to hear about a bad loss in the locker room, or we want to hear about a good play draw up, or I want to hear J.J. Redick clowning on LeBron James because he couldn't finish at the rim because he's over 40 years old at this point. I think it will be a lot of fun. But honestly, from a business perspective, there's no way that could go on here because too much stuff would leak out, and you got to take things seriously. You know when you can do a podcast with LeBron James? After you win the world championship. People will enjoy that a lot. But the one thing I do know I think I'm going to enjoy here throughout this season is the post-game press conferences with J.J. Redick. He is very, very opinionated on every structure he goes on, doesn't mind speaking the truth, and I can see like a tough loss here early in his NBA coaching career where he might let it fly in that post-game press conference. So I'm intrigued by this overall. By the way, Chad, I think it was the FanDuel Sportsbook yesterday, their Twitter account. You know, they had a picture of J.J. Redick in a suit. It's like, hey, first look at J.J. Redick as a coach. I'm like, yeah, it looks the same as a guy sitting there calling a game. So I got a kick out of that one posted up. Like it wasn't anything different that we're going to watch, but I'm intrigued by this, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, J.J. Redick, by the way, is very groomed in media. J.J. Redick, a very sharp basketball mind, that we know. I appreciated his candor, though, in his first press conference, introductory press conference yesterday in Los Angeles. Not just because he dropped an F-bomb and might be subject to fines by the NBA league office moving forward, but because of the questions about Dan Hurley. And he said, listen, Rob Pelinka was very forthright in everything, very transparent in all of those conversations. And for him, that news dropped on the day of Game 1 where he was calling the 2024 NBA Finals. But it was an understandable thing for J.J. Redick. Dan Hurley's won 2 consecutive national championships, and J.J. Redick made fun of himself for his only coaching experience being elementary school basketball in Brooklyn. So J.J. Redick is understanding of what he walks into. Of course, now the next big pictures for the Lakers. Starting tomorrow, 2024 NBA Draft. What will they do at number 17 overall? And, of course, maybe even more intent and focus on night number 2 and what happens with Bronny James. What does that mean for LeBron James's future, who is also a free agent as he opted out of his player option for this upcoming season? The idea is, at least the overwhelming thought, is that LeBron is going to re-sign in Los Angeles just with a restructured deal, but still some things to iron out for the Lakers.
No doubt about it. And also, shout out to J.J. Redick because he knew some of the questions coming in, and I do respect the ability to be able to lie and keep a straight face. Hey, by the way, did you ever talk to I haven't talked to LeBron James in months, man. Maybe 5-10 minutes at this point. You know damn well he was calling LeBron every day. Did you speak with Rob today? What did Rob have to say? Did he say any good things about me? Hey, by the way, did you have breakfast with Jeannie Buss? What did she have to say about me? Can he put in a good word for me as a head coach? You know that was going on here. So stop the man this up. Well, J.J. Redick, just an independent coach here, had no attachment to the team whatsoever, knowing you better have the blessing of LeBron James to be the next head coach or else he's not staying in Los Angeles. But I understand from his perspective was, look, I can't come to a press conference and be like, yeah, LeBron basically was like, you need to be my head coach and pulled all the strings behind the scenes so I could be the head coach. We knew it wasn't going there, but I do appreciate I don't really talk to LeBron James at all here. Shout out to that one.
And DRS, for the first time really in the LeBron James, Anthony Davis, LA Laker era, they are not one of the 5 best priced teams to win the Western Conference in the preseason. They have struggled to stack up those odds throughout a regular season, but right now tied for the 7th best price at 20-1 with many other teams around the West. Now we go to the Eastern Conference, and the cornerstone of the Raptors franchise now, and for many years to come at least, expected. Scottie Barnes intends to sign a 5-year, $270 million rookie max extension to stay in Toronto and become the highest paid player in the history of this Raptors franchise. When we were breaking things down very quickly in our opening segment in that 7 in 7, I think you said overpaid. Do you feel that way about Scottie Barnes?
Well, just about everybody's going to be overpaid in the NBA with that new money coming in here, but it's just shocking when you see it first here with some of these first contracts coming through. Like a very good basketball player, I'm not doubting his skills at all, on a very bad basketball team gets that bag. It's almost like you would expect this to be on the Boston Celtics. Like, hey, Tatum's going to get 5 for $270. Yeah, it makes some sense. He just won the championship. They're a great basketball team. Jaylen Brown makes a ton of money. That's when you want to go all in as a franchise. I understand he's a building block towards the future there, but it's just astounding to see that, like, wow, this guy is 5 years, $270 on a bad basketball team at this point. So we'll see what they do in the future at this point. Again, very good player, but this money is going to be out of pocket over the next 2 to 3 seasons, which guys are going to be like, what? He makes how much?
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
We said the same thing with Jaylen Brown's record-setting contract last year. Jason Tatum expected to eclipse that number when the offseason officially gets underway for the NBA. But Scottie Barnes, an all-star this past season for the Raptors, averaging nearly 20 points per game, more than 8 boards and 6 dimes throughout this season. The rightful cornerstone of a Raptors franchise, very much in transition, of course, after trading Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby during the regular season this past year. Pascal in Indiana signing that big max extension. We'll see what OG Anunoby does this offseason as well. So we'll have some NBA draft discussions to start our second hour, but to end out this opening hour for one final night, we go to Omaha, Nebraska. Up next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Can he be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just
did.
did.
The bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
40-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
He went bogey, double, par, birdie, bogey. Thomas Dietrich's all over the place here today.
This golf course is so volatile where it can make you look like a fool in just a matter of minutes. And, you know, you look at a guy like Thomas Dietrich. You know, he's right there tied for the lead or whatever it was, and now he's like 4 or 5 over in the wink of an eye.
In-game live, all access, only on SportsGrid.
Despite me being a Yankee fan, I think Joe would deserve the label as Aaron Judge's biggest fan, not through any bias, but just through the amount of money that he's made anybody who's been betting on him.
I just had him for that home run, and I'm going to go back to it today. That home run coming in at plus 230. Max Fried here, while he has been strong. This is Aaron Judge.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Not just a winner-take-all Game 7 in the 2024 Stanley Cup Final, but a decisive winner-take-all Game 3 in the Men's College World Series championship set between Tennessee and Texas A&M, two SEC foes both battling for their first national championship in program history. The Vols last made the CWS Finals prior to this year back in 1951. A&M had never reached the championship set in Omaha. So much on the line last night in Omaha, Nebraska, and it ends with a volunteer victory. Tennessee holds on late 6-5 to win its first ever national title. So many historic trends coming to a head last night. Tennessee, the first #1 national seed to win a national championship since the very first year of this national seeding format back in 1999 when the Miami Hurricanes stood atop the mountaintop in college baseball. Now it's standing atop Rocky Top for Tennessee. 5 years under Tony Vitello, they're in Knoxville. They have made the NCAA tournament every single year. Back-to-back appearances in Omaha in the College World Series, reaching the CWS in 3 of the past 4 seasons. But prior to Tony Vitello taking the reins, DRS, in Knoxville, this proud Volunteers baseball program had missed not just the CWS, but the NCAA tournament 13 consecutive years. From that, in a 5-year span, to now being crowned a national champ for the first time in program history, give Tony Vitello all the flowers he deserves.
No, absolutely. And also, you take a look at the SEC total here. Like back in the day, just a football conference. And now they're a baseball conference and now playing sensational college basketball as well. What a job they've done. And also, just by taking a look at who actually made the College World Series, you see that strong influence from the SEC in an all-SEC final. But also, here's what you like. We saw it yesterday in the NHL game. You're the home team here. You think you're the better team, right? You get out to the lead first. Don't leave any options, because I understand the Edmonton Oilers tied up that game, but just the emotions of getting that first goal. Okay, we're in it here. Let's play some good hockey. That was a championship. Same thing with Tennessee yesterday, Ben. What do you want to do in that first inning? How about go deep early to get us a 1-0 lead, take all that pressure off? It's okay. Let's settle in. We're the better team. Let's win this. And they did that. That's what I was most impressed with yesterday. And boy, it was hot out there. That environment was lively. The crowd was into it early. You just wanted to say, okay, let's get ourselves out to a lead. Even though in the end, it got really close there, and a solo home run would have sent this to extra innings. I really enjoyed that game, specifically watching some of the highlights late in there, because I was watching early. Wow, all right, Tennessee's in it to win it, and they end up winning the game.
It was huge for Tennessee, and a slide that happened in the bottom of the 7th when the Vols added what we thought was just insurance, scoring 3 runs. Hunter Ensley getting around the catcher for A&M and tapping the plate with his right hand in an acrobatic move. It was just super cool to see, one of the best baseball slides you will ever see. It ended up being the game-winning in national championship clinching run for the Volunteers. Again, the first #1 national seed since 1999 to win a national title. Now, just from the betting perspective, Tennessee was the favorite entering Omaha. They were a -180 favorite for the decisive Game 3 last night. Total was 10.5. The Vols were up 6-1 at the end of the 7th. My best bet yesterday, under 10.5 runs. Felt pretty comfortable with where things stood in the final 2 innings. Now we go to the top of the 9th. Texas A&M scores a run, 6-4 ball game. All the insurance off the board. Then A&M has a runner on first. He is allowed to take second base on a stolen base, but uncontested, because they don't care about that run. A balk sends the runner to third, and then a wild pitch on a 1-2 count, on an 0-2 count rather, scores that 5th run for the Aggies. Total goes over very next pitch. The game clinching and national championship clinching strike 3. A bad beat to end it, but not if you bet the Volunteers early. A +230 price before the College World Series began in the Big O.
Yeah, tough scene. Hey, it happens sometimes that way, and you're just trying to hold on. But let me play out this scenario for you, Ben, right?
Please.
You're in Omaha yesterday. It's like, what was the temperature? 100, 103 degrees, 104 degrees at first pitch here. If you were playing this in a city like Miami, dome stadium, air conditioning, fans going crazy. Hold on. Hear
Miami
me out
always,
here.
of course,
You
South Florida, very well
you
known
win
for
that game,
very calm
and
weather.
you go right to South Beach with the kids. You go to Mango's, you hang out, you get
go
all the
right
pictures.
to
The kids are
Rocco's
loving
and
it.
you have some Jello shots. You
It
go
was
to
closed.
Platt,
I heard
right
Rocco's
outside
was
the stadium
closed
to the
the minute the
rooftop
game
and have
ended.
a great time.
There's no bars
By the
open.
way, as
They
we
got blue light
focus
laws.
on the
11
greatness,
p.m., they're
Dylan
closed.
Dreiling
Blue
hit
light
a
laws.
home run in all 3 games in the CWS Finals for
memorable.
Tennessee, including in that
Could've been
7th
so
inning.
memorable
Christian
this
Moore
World Series.
leading off the game with a home run. Hour 2 is up next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
11 and 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Rory Mack, it is going to be remembered. It will be a lasting image from the 2024 United States Open, just like Bryson DeChambeau's 55-yard bunker shot.
We love big-time winners. Like, you win a championship, we want to hear from you. You get the stage. Sometimes it's emotional. It's a great watch. We know we also love the losers who said, you know what, I can't believe I folded down the stretch. Let me face the music here. You sort of get a new light there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.